Well, as the wind dies off here on the Mediterranean coast in Croatia, it's time to settle the medals in the recurve men's competition, starting with the recurve men's bronze medal match.
The club archer from Slovenia, Dan Habjan Malavasic. And on target number 2, representing Moldova, Dan Olaru. Judge of the match is Miss Marlene Kredels. Ready to go.
Bronze medal contest in the recurve men's competition. Here's a playoff against Dan Habjan from Slovenia, up against this man here, Dan Olaru from Moldova, winner of the Hyundai Archery World Cup stage in Antalya. Habjan has taken gold in the Veronica's Cup this season, and he's going to get the match underway.
Yeah, in a very windy condition, but he seems unfazed. I was going to say this is going to be an interesting match because Dan is fresh off of his win in Antalya. He didn't go to Shanghai. So the last competition we saw him at, he won the World Cup stage in Antalya. The last time we saw Dan Habjan in the TV match was the Veronica's Cup in his hometown of Kamnik, where he shot a very impressive gold medal match. So both archers here on the line, very high level, and yeah, I think this is going to be a very high level match.
9:29.
29 from the Slovenian. Can be matched with a 10 from Olaru. Ooh.
It's difficult to see.
So our first really important line call here. Target judge coming into play.
What is nice though is that we're running a little bit late, behind schedule, but Dan and Dan are just keeping up the pace so that we can get back some time and you know, get back in line with the schedule.
Well, we haven't had a clear indication of whether that 9 has been marked as a 9 or a 10.
It is a 9 because he would have had 1 point.
Indeed. The eye of the tiger, Chef Vandenberg, spotting the score going up. Sorry, I couldn't resist. 2-0 then for Dan Habjan.
So no line, it means that the first set goes to Dan Habjan Malavasic, target 1, and Dan Olaru shoots first, the second set. And he starts with a 10.
You can see that the wind has just slightly changed direction again here in Umag.
Yeah, and it's really starting to pick up now, I think. You can feel or hear the mics picking it up, but both these archers have a pretty respectable bow weight and quite strong techniques, so I think they should fare pretty well in these windy conditions.
Well, big opportunity here for Olaru to level things up. 9 will be enough.
Ooh, but he opens the door and leaves a little bit of an opportunity for Dan here.
Needs a 10. Oh, just outside for a 27. And we are all square at 2 apiece. You talked about a heavy bow weight, which helps stabilize things in these windy conditions. But we're in a coastal town. We're right on the coast here in Croatia, in Umag. Olaru winning in Antalya, notorious for its windy coastal conditions, and he took gold there.
Yeah, and the fact that he has such a quick shot also helps him out here. Although what must help Dan here is that he lives in a Mediterranean country as well, so he has a very similar climate and a similar, you know, similar wind, I would say, than Croatia.
Well, that gives you a clue as to how the conditions are. And we talked about this many times before, but it's worth noting the conditions are windy. But if it was stable wind, if it was steady, pointing in the same direction, the archers can handle it. It's when it's blustery, that's when the real problems start to come in.
Yeah, that makes it way more difficult. If it's stable, then you can just either move your sight or pick a point on the target to aim at. But when it's blustery, when there's like gusts of wind, then sometimes you get caught off guard, and then your sight just moves off the gold right as you're gonna release. So that makes it really difficult. So not the easiest of circumstances, and you can see that most of the arrows that are not in the middle go to the right, and I think that is all to do with the wind coming from left to right. Yeah, not the best of releases, but I think it's difficult to, in these circumstances when you're being blown around by the wind, it's difficult to keep your technique together because you just try to do anything it takes to get the arrow to hit the gold, or to hit the 10 ring in this case, because a gold is not enough at this level. So you cannot really blame the archers for having an I would say ugly shot every once in a while, because that's just them trying to get it in. Looking at Dan Olaru though, his procedure, his approach is a little bit different in the regard that he just puts his sight on the middle, pulls it through the clicker as fast as he can, and just goes for it. Which is also, if you can do that, if you have enough trust in your instincts to get the arrow in the middle, then that's a very good technique in the wind.
Well, you can see the darkening clouds overhead. There have been storms through this part of Europe over the last week. Rain's holding off at the moment. It's Olaru who's come from behind to lead 4-2. And that's why Habjan shoots first and into the 10. You look at the performance trajectory of these two athletes within the match. Olaru's gone 28, 28, 29. And he starts with a 10 as well. And Habjan's gone 29, 27, 27. He needs to arrest that slide, the Slovenian.
Bit of a longer hold.
So a 10 for the first perfect of the match, and putting this set out of reach. Pops it into the 10 for a 30 and levels the match up.
9-28, the fourth set goes to Dan Habjan Malavasic from Kamnik, and now we are 4-4. Nice score.
So all square in this bronze medal match. You mentioned quality. This is serious high quality, world number 22 against world number 7. How much pressure comes off an athlete when they win the very first High-End Archery World Cup of the season? Of course, I'm talking about Dan Olaru from Moldova.
Yeah, well, it's going to give him some pressure, but also some confidence, right? He knows he can do well on the world stage. This is a European Grand Prix, but it's still a very high level competition, and he knows now that he can win those. He's really a contender, so that I think that'll help him.
So we go into the fifth with the scores all tied up. Well, if you can call it a dip, it's a dip of sorts. 29, 27, 27 from Habjan, but then followed that up in the fourth with a perfect. He comes into this fifth set shooting first with the scores all tied, but his confidence will be super high now.
9.
Again, his group is either in the middle or it's like it wavers out to the right. And that's very similar to Dan's group. If you look at his target, you can also see it's either middle, low, or right. So depending on how difficult the wind is, they're shooting really well or on the right.
So an opportunity here for the Slovenian, a 10 for the bronze medal. Oh, brilliant from him. Dan Habjan has put this one out of reach with a 29. There's 3 9s for Olaru. Olaru is going to the High-End Archery World Cup final in Hermosillo, Mexico at the end of the season, but is off the podium here at the second stage of the European Cup. It's a second gold medal on the international circuit for Dan Habjan Malavasic from Slovenia. Having won the Veronica's Cup earlier on this season, he's now taken a bronze medal here in Croatia.